So today I wanted to look at, I'm going to continue my backlog. WWR on October 5th, 2020 at 8 a.m. They came out with this news article, and number one was it had some key words in it that were, if you had read it really quickly, you'd understand that the news was good. And then because the news was good, there would be a lot of people buying in. So it opened at a price of 4.84 and it rose off of 4.37. It actually fell immediately on the news. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it like barely rose and then it just fell a lot. And then the entire, I don't know how long this rise for, like maybe 2 days, 3 days. Okay, one day basically, up until pre-market. Isn't that funny? Not surprised all the action was in pre-market. Okay, so anyways, the news was good, and the reason it was good was you had to differentiate between good and bad news. And I think the key word was graphite. It's sort of like one of the best ways to store energy, I guess. Primary anode material in lithium-ion batteries. I don't remember everything about it, but like back when I first saw this kind of article, I remember reading about graphite and trying to understand why it's so useful, and basically kind of it's like kind of futuristic. It's like I don't know. It's something that we'll see a lot in the future. So there's a growing market for it. So that was a very important key word that you had to be able to recognize that that's really good. And even though you would have saw this, like, okay, stock price rose, stock price fell, came up again, fell down, and then one interesting thing that I always see with like rising stocks is that you have to be able to look at a stock and see that if the volume is low, then and you think it's going to grow, then you can't just take the chart and look at it like TradingView or whatever it is that you use. You can't look at it like it's being shown. You should be looking at it like this. You have to imagine that it's going to go, much higher on a heavier volume. So let's say it would probably go up to like 6 or 5.9 or something like that, or even, well, apparently it went up. Oh, is it at 6.15 right now? I have no idea. Probably. Anyways, so you get the point though. I'm just saying you have to change your perception. So news came out and it fell, and then it crossed MACD right here. I would have liked to buy it after the cross, or even on the peak of the, sorry, on the trough of the lower end of MACD, so like the below zero. So either here or here would have been good buy points for me on news. If it's good news, even freaking like as soon as it comes out, or anywhere like as soon as it comes out, like I would buy in on good news. I think that's the point. However, like it really does have to be very good news. It can't just be like okay or good. It has to be very good. I don't know. This isn't like an incredible piece of news. It's very hard. So let's just read the chart. Because like I looked at 6 articles today, and like many of them were good, but I don't know. The stock didn't go anywhere. I didn't like check up too much, but I'll look back at that. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about is like if you believe that the news is bad. For example, Medigas came out with this. They came out with some news, and it was like they're going into the EV business. So the stock shot up, went up to like 3.19, and I saw it like this, When you see stuff like this, sometimes it's actually a good idea to get in at this level. But one thing to take note of, I guess, is like historically, has the stock ever been this high? If the answer is no, then it's possible that it won't go too much higher than what it's historically been at. So like historically the highest maybe 2.89. Let's see, did it get higher? Yeah, it was like, so it has some spikes, you know? Like I wonder, did it match any of those? You know what? It got very close to this previous spike. But you wouldn't want to be the person buying here. You really wouldn't. And in other cases, like it could have been like jumped up here, up here. Anyways, it was an 80% jump. It was an 80% jump. Okay, so back to, no, I needed to talk about that because sometimes when RSI is high, it may be a good time to jump in. But in this case, RSI actually saved my butt. I didn't jump in, and not only that, I recognized the news was crap. The news it jumped on was like, you know, this is a surgical device company, and they were saying they want to go into EV cars, like EVs, electronic vehicles. Like what the heck? Like it's totally out of their field. Like it's not even in their realm. It's like I was thinking like to myself that this is like a butcher selling apples. Like this is just a total mismatch of like integration. Like this is not vertical integration or horizontal or whatever. It's not in alignment with their business. So obviously key ingredient when doing good business is, you know, there should be some sort of similarity between the business and like let's say a new business that it starts, and like really just because you do some electronics doesn't mean you can build an entire car. Okay, so I was like, no, that's bad news. I don't care. So it fell, and then it just kept falling. It kept falling, kept falling, kept falling. And then recently it got back. It got back up because they kind of had a new letter, and it kind of explained why they were in what they were in. And yeah, I guess it's like it moved up. I don't regret it, but at the same time, like, you know, for sure, I wish I got it over here, but that's another story. Let's continue with the Westwater example. I'm just saying, you gotta be able to differentiate between good and bad news. It's a skill that you do need to have, and you gotta do it fast too, because if you're not fast enough, like today, or no, it's yesterday, this company, FTSI, they came out with some news, and the news was like, we came out of Chapter 11 restructuring, and I was like, what the heck is that? Like, I don't even really know what that. I mean, I know that's bankruptcy, and if like they come out of bankruptcy, like, is it a good company now? Does that mean it's a good company all of a sudden just because they come out of bankruptcy and they do restructuring? Apparently, yes. Apparently, that's great news. Like, it jumped a lot. It jumped like 50%, 100%, 200%. Then went back down to like 100%. Let's see, FTSI. FTSI past 5 days. So November 19th, that was, I think that's when it started jumping. So I think it jumped 100%. What was it, 100%? 100% over here, goes down back, and then it just jumped up again. So this was an amazing stock. And then I'll give you another example. So take a look at this. So MACD is scooping up. Sorry, you can't see that. MACD is scooping up, and then RSI is at like 89, like, or 90. Can't really tell. It's about 90. Like that's really high. You wouldn't want to get in a stock that's 89. This is a huge risk. But at the same time, like I said, like you could get in and out. And then like waiting for the scoop. I don't know. Like I find that good news tends to rise very fast. So obviously if you can get in before good news, that's amazing, but I don't know, the lesson here is like, look, it jumped up to 13 too. The lesson here is you have to be able to distinguish between good news and bad news, and then based on that, you can start trying to interpret the MACD and RSI and whatever you want, the price, whatever. You have to be able to differentiate whether it's low or high. And for Metagus, I thought it was way too high. FTSI, I didn't know that it was not high enough because clearly like 10 is less than the current price, 14. Because it's big news for sure. It's positive news. So this one for Westwater was positive news, and that was huge. So you invest here, around here, whatever, right when the news comes out, especially when the RSI was low. So it's 4.86, goes up, and then there's some sort of resistance at this level. So you could have sold here and made very little, okay? But there's resistance there, so we don't want to get caught in that. So then, actually, what you could have done, you could have held it, because I have a signal here saying it's a weak sell. That means like it's not a strong sell. You don't have to sell it. So basically, if the price only goes down a bit, then it's a weak sell. But if it goes down, like let's say near your stop loss or near your entry price, then it's a strong sell and you should get out. So that's another way to interpret this. So otherwise, you would have held if you didn't sell, and I would have bought in again anyways, because when the MACD is curving up, when it's past the zero, when the slope is zero, when it starts to go positive, I would have tried to buy in again. Another thing is like my price weighted volume indicator, which is basically like saying volume. Volume will start to rise, and see it did rise here, and it looks a lot more like linear with this price weighted volume. So anyways, I would have been in the trade right here, and that's based on this angle. Okay, now I would have been in here, and I would have wanted to get out over here, and the reason for that is so I have an average level that I've set out, and basically the volume is passing through that average level. So that's a strong sell signal for me, and probably for like, I don't know, market makers, I guess, because almost every time I see this happen, stocks fall. Almost every time. Not all the time, but almost every time. So falls, what's that? We can be conservative. We'll say 5.24 versus 6.1. That's great. That's amazing. Another thing is I could have waited until here, but I think this is a better sell signal, and also there's a sell signal here as well. And another thing is like I said before, you want to get in when your RSI, you want to keep track of your RSI when you get in. So RSI was 68 over here, and then RSI it went up to 80, and then it dropped till 86. So there's another strong sell signal here as well. It's basically when like has to do with SMA, RSI. Excuse me, I'm tired. Yeah, so that's one trade, and this is another trade. Wait. Oh, these are both entries. So this is either one whole big trade, depending on my risk factor. So I would have got out either over here, which is a weak sell. I'm not sure I would have got out on a weak sell. I probably would have, and this was supposed to be a buy, so I probably would have held on from here to here. I mean, I'm not used to doing that, but I need to get used to it. So I will change this. No, this is good. This is totally fine. So moving on. I have to look at this in a 5-minute view because this platform doesn't go back far enough. So whatever, it is what it is. So I would have let it fall, would have let it fall, and I still would have let it fall. And then, RSI starts to go positive. I mean, it starts to cross 50. And generally, that's the sign of an uptrend. It starts to cross 50 over here. But rate of change is like a really big thing for me. Like, it's very important that the stock has a positive rate of change. And yeah, that means over zero. So, as soon as it did this, I would have really, like, really considered getting in. At that time, it would have been almost too late, though. I think the RSI passing 50 is a huge deal. I remember seeing this being said by other uh, like people who analyze stocks, and yeah, so this is a really really big deal. So there's a strong buy signal. After every strong buy signal, I like to wait till the stock just falls a bit, and then I like to get in. So I would have tried to get in, let's say, not here, not here, not here, but probably right here when the stock was rising. I guess you have to kind of be a part of it. Like, you could, if you're not a part of it, then you won't get as much of the trade in your favor. So it would have fallen over here, and then you could have gotten over here based on volume and price. So I don't know. I'm trying to pick a spot where I would have gotten. I think I don't think I would have gotten here. I don't think I would have gotten here. I think I would have gotten here. And the reason for that, there has to be two reasons. I think the two reasons are RSI is past 50, and also strong buy signal has been generated, and also there's some green here, and that green here just means that the price has dropped a bit. The only thing I do not like, and that doesn't make me want to go in this trade, is that the MACD is still basically flat, and also rate of change is negative. So if I had waited, I would have probably got in here. I think this is the safer way to go in. Yeah, I would have gotten somewhere on this bar, and then where would I have sold? I would have sold either here, or, which would have sucked, or I would have held on and then sold over here. And again, I think a big part of this game is like beating your RSI. So if you got in at RSI 63, you want to beat 63. So I wouldn't have liked to sell here because RSI is lower. I would have waited, and then when I can see the RSI is getting beat, I would have held, and then I would have sold probably here. That's not good. I think, I don't know, you should look for, so let's say I got in an RSI 63, and then like RSI here is 74 or 73. So I think maybe 10 above your RSI is actually a good time to take profit. In just from like looking at this chart. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. That could be like a rule or something. But then again, maybe it doesn't always go to 10. Maybe it can go more, maybe it can go less. So, This was the sell signal though. It was here. And the sell signal, I got it from price weighted volume and also the high, low, and GAN. I generally though, I want to sell in the red. I like to buy in the green and sell in the red. And when I say that, I just mean like when the price is low, I want to buy in, and when the price is high, I want to sell out. So I think I would have tried to take, I would have tried to take this point as a sell point. So that's another good trade. Let's keep looking. Oh, man, I'm super tired. I'm going to take a break after this. Okay, so where would I have gotten in again, and where would I have gotten out is the question. Another thing which I don't usually talk about is I have a indicator here called super trend. And if you go through this, I created this indicator with the help of the guy who suggested I create it. He was like, I wonder if you could do this. Can you cross SMAs together and then like kind of create something like a RSI? And I was like, let's try it. And I did it. And it was very difficult. But basically what it does, it spots like super trends. So, hold on. That sucked. I didn't want to see that. Basically, when a stock is going down and it switches trends, like here it started to explode up. If you had bought in over here at 1.94, you could have sold, at, even this RSI is like 85, RSI is 75 here, but there's a bearish divergence. So if you had sold at the bearish divergence, which is totally fine, because the whole point of bearish divergence is the price is too high. It's too high in comparison to the past when the indicator was showing a lower amount. So that's great. So that's a totally legitimate way to sell out. So if you had sold out over there and you had access to pre-market, which I do now, I'm happy about that, you could have made a lot of money. And then the positive uptrend continues. And now I'm going to tell you why it continues, and that's only because the last signal that I've gotten was the trend is up. So I can kind of assume that the trend will stay up. One thing you have to be aware of though is like when it gets this thin, then you kind of have to watch out for the trend to change, because when they cross, trend changes. Same thing with I would say same thing with RSI, right? I guess so. I can't really tell. My RSI is messy, but I'm happy with it. Okay, so like I was saying, this is in a good trend. Da 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 da. I think that's something that like I can pay attention to, and that's something I was paying attention to before. Like I wanted to make sure every stock I go in had a good trend in general. So if like you see a stock that's been up like 5 days or something, because it's like been waving up and down for 5 days, but it's been waving generally in the up direction, then that could be a better stock than something that's been waving down. Just a thought, not necessarily true, but like it's something to look out for. So I said I talked about how I would have done this trade, buy, sell over here, and of course I would love to be in this trade like before here and after here. The question is, how would I know whether to get in or not? Let's see. So currently, I'm not, well, do I want to use that? Okay, one thing I want to talk about. So Ichimoku clouds here are showing an uptrend. So I call this like an escalator. I usually like pop this in and it will actually look like an escalator. It's not going to show me because I'm not going to do it. I have to rewind it, and then it will show me like some lines in this thing. It was just some like kind of nerdy thing that I did, which I'm kind of happy about. It looks really cool when there's lines in it. It looks like an escalator kind of. So anyways, so when you have this, the whole point is when you have a uptrend like this, so an uptrending cloud. So if you go and grab the Ichimoku clouds and you get the same clouds like me, and you make sure that they look different when they're uptrending, I'm not sure. I think they do look different for most people. They'll look like green or red or something like that. So when they're uptrending, you can generally hold on. It's same with MACD. If it's like above 0, you can generally hold on. So that's one thing I could have done to be a part of this rise here. I could have just held on, which is more risky, but I mean it works. That's one thing that works. Another thing I wanted to view was, let's see, yeah, the buy-in points. So Basically, what this indicator is telling me is when MACD starts to have a slope greater than 0. And it had a slope greater than 0 over here. So I would have tried to get in, I probably would have tried to get in over here because it's a strong buy signal. So I would have tried to get in over here, and then I would keep track of my RSI. So you get a strong buy signal, and then I would have tried to get in over here. So let's grab that. I could also pay a bit of attention to my price weighted volume, and I could get in over here because I have a buy signal over here, and it's still green, so I'm happy about that. So I will color this green just to like show that I'm buying in. So now RSI over here is 58.93, so 60. So I bought in at 60, and then I'm hoping that you know what's odd? Like, I don't think I would buy in there, to be honest. And the reason for that is like it started to slope up here, you know? I want to be in the trade when it slopes up. That's like generally a good thing. So you buy here, and then you sell over here at the resistance. So I mean, this is like one way to look at it. We can look at it in two different ways. So it said to sell over here. So let's say you sell it, and then it also says, oh, it's starting to scoop up over. I mean, I don't know why it said to buy in over here. Like, really? Like, maybe it did scoop up over there because the buy signal is generated here. So I don't see how that's greater than 0. I see how afterwards it is, but not before. I definitely see that this price rose here. So if I were to just go by the signal, which is supposed to be like, maybe because we're looking at 5-minute, I don't know. If we had got it over here, that would have been awesome. And then if we had held until here, honestly, I wouldn't be a part of this stock. If like, I would probably try to sell. I want to sell before I see resistance. So I would have tried to sell when RSI is higher. So you got a 59 RSI. RSI goes up to 79. Like, really think about taking profits when you get in RSI 60, and then it jumps up to like 80 or 90 or something like that. Like, it went up to 80. Like I said before, if I had said like plus 10 over here and it starts to go up like that much, I would have taken profits like right here, especially right here. This doji symbol. This doji symbol is like either a sign of like amazingness or, you know, death. In this case, it was really good, but I mean, it could have gone either way. So I probably would have sold either here or here. Being like completely honest with you. Only thing I'm not so sure about is I'm not sure I would have bought in right over there. Let's see. So with these 3 scalps, I would have been finished, like, for sure. And the reason for that is, like, maybe I would have watched it, and like, I mean, this is a nice piece of pie over here, but let's go back. I do want to see, like, what would I do differently if I was not using the MACD? How would I have gotten into this trade, or these last 2 trades? I would have used strong buy. Let's say it said to sell here, and I would have bought in like around here after I got the strong buy signal. So green, we're waiting, and we would have tried to buy in the green. So it says to sell, and then I would have tried to buy in the green, like here, I think. Okay, and then we're kind of hoping that RSI scoops up again, and we get a better RSI than 61. And of course we do, and I would have sold it here based on the volume. And look, there's like 2 sell signals here, so yeah. I like that trade. I like that trade a lot. So and then, like, let's take a look at the price difference. It's 6.78 versus 8.35. That is beautiful. That's a nice return. I'm not going to calculate it, but that's a nice return. So I think I'm finished looking at this graph. So here's the strategy for this chart. You have an uptrending stock, okay? You want to get in and you want to keep track of your RSI. Number two is you probably, I'm not going to say you want to get out fast, but you do want to, so you want to keep track of your RSI when you get in, and you want to keep track of your RSI as the chart shows itself more and more as time passes. So then another thing you can do is when MACD slope is greater than 0, you can buy in, and then start paying attention to volume. As volume rises, and if it starts to fall, sell it. So, for example, MACD rises over here, and then you're looking at volume, it's starting to fall, it's starting to rise, starting to rise, starting to rise, and then you can see that volume starts to fall a bit. As soon as it starts to fall a bit, and you've got a good RSI that's much higher than your buy-in point, take the profits, run. 10 is a good number. Anything above 10, very nice. If you had bought in here, this is interesting. I didn't look at this before, but let's say you buy in here when RSI is really low, like 50, 53, and then it jumps up to 60, 63. So from here, where is it? From either here or even lower, it would have been a good trade, a very good trade. So buy when RSI is low, sell when RSI is high. If it's a hot stock, then you should consider buying in when RSI is at 50, and then selling when RSI is like 80 or 70s, or even 90s. But 90s is a little too. I mean, I find that 90s don't happen too often. It happens, but not as often. 75 is generally that's a hot stock for sure. Okay, so last thing I wanted to talk about was the rate of change. So rate of change is positive from here to here, and then it starts going down. Now, when rate of change stops sticking to, well, not sticking, but it stops making new highs, it's a good time to let go of the trade. And when it stops making new lows, it's a good time to buy into the trade. And again, so it didn't make a new high over here, so I guess that's kind of a hold. So you can consider holding. If I had held, it would have gone negative, and I wouldn't have liked that. But here it made a new high, and when I say new high, I just mean new high over the past X amount of bars. So in this case, I don't know what I've set it to, but it's probably 50 or something, 25 bars. So it didn't make a new high over the past 25 bars. I'm talking about rate of change. And then it went down a bit, and then it went high, and it finally made a new high. But then it starts to go down. It stopped making new highs, the rate of change. So now you can consider selling, because that was a good time to sell in the past. I mean, I haven't looked at many stocks, but from what I've looked at so far, I would have tried to buy in over here based on rate of change, and I would have tried to buy in over here based on rate of change, because I know that some traders are using this, and it works really well. I mean, rate of change is awesome. Yeah, it's a solid indicator. Okay, I think that's everything. So yeah, I'm glad I talked about that, because I wasn't too sure how I should use it in the future, but that seems like a really good way to use it. Very important, I mean, this is totally not off topic, but not related to this chart, but make sure you wake up very early. So number one, you're getting the news, you're looking for the news, and you would have caught it at least, hopefully, like right when it comes out, or like soon afterwards. Because take a look, like rate of change is already past zero over here, and it's already making new highs. You don't want to be that guy who's like buying in over here. So you want to be the guy buying in, like, let's say over here or here. Um, so yeah, that's a very important thing as well. Yeah, you want to be up early. You also want to catch things as fast as possible, and that's why it's important to like review a lot of stocks and try to understand everything, because when you do this sort of thing, you will understand the positive signs much easier in the future.